Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Let's Talk Arsenal series, our twice weekly show on a Tuesday and a Friday at 5 p.m. And on our Tuesday show, I'm joined by a guest, which I'm going to introduce to you in just a second. And as always, a massive thank you to Football Prizes for sponsoring the show. More about this week's prize a little bit later on in the video. But let's crack on with today's show. I'm joined today by the Godfather himself. It's Craig. How you doing, mate? Are you well?
Very well, mate. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. How are you all? I'm very well, thank you, Tom, and I hope you are too.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Yeah, actually, surprisingly good, actually. I don't know if it's... I feel like there's an element of justice coming, actually. I don't know if you saw the news, but certain alleged racism incidents through Cadella, he's been given a one-match ban. Provisionarily, I should say, whilst the investigation goes on. So it could get extended. Hopefully it does get extended. But that's good news, isn't it? There's a little bit of justice in the world.
There's a bit of justice in the world, but I read a report that said he wasn't coming because he had health problems. Because
he wasn't coming anyway. Yeah, it turns out. He wasn't actually coming anyway.
He bottled it, the racist bastard. So, yeah, it's good news. Good news. He shouldn't play football again.
No. Have you seen the one that happened in Valencia as well?
Yeah, I saw that as well. Yeah, it's disgusting. And big shout out to the Valencia players for walking off. It's got to stop. It's something in football that drives me insane. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's having a go at who. English people could be having a go at Irish people, Scottish people. It drives me insane, racism. So it's something that's got to come out of football straight away. FIFA have got to come. FIFA, UEFA, whatever governing body it is involved, have got to come down on racism hard. If you're found guilty of racism, you should never play on a professional football pitch again, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I come down slightly differently. I think that there's and we talk about this a lot with John on the LTA podcast. We talk about social side of things, and I'm very much kind of on the side of, I get that whole thing about ban them, and I think they should be banned. I also think that we probably should move towards the route, in my view, of kind of rehabilitation. Can you rehabilitate a racist? Is a very poignant question, I suppose. But I'd rather go down the route of saying that, look, we're going to ban you as a punishment, and we're going to say that you're going to go on a course and you're going to learn why this is wrong, what you said, and then bring you back. And then hopefully, because I'd rather the opportunity. Well,
that's a good idea. Yeah, I mean, that probably sounds a less harsher punishment than what I've just said. But yeah, I mean, I think you can rehabilitate a racist. Anyone can learn a lesson. But the lesson has got to be very stern. And very tough. It can't be I've just got to go and sit in a room for 6 hours once a week and listen to a fellow tell me why I'm so bad because I called someone a racist slur. It's got to come down harder than that.
Yeah, I agree in the sense it does. And I think that actually no fans in the ground has started to highlight that it's been actually more ingrained within the player section of the game rather than just coming from the stands as well, which is a real concern. Anyway, that obviously it's a big topic and one that is going to rumble on. But I'm glad that some action's starting to be taken. But we move on to talk about Arsenal specifically, and I named the show kind of how do we save our season? How do Arsenal save their season? Because things aren't too great. Obviously, I mean, I was expecting a way better performance against Liverpool than we got. I wouldn't say I was expecting us to go out there and really win the game. I predicted a win because I'm always the optimist. But I was still thinking, it's Liverpool, the champions. They've got all their players fit besides two centre-backs who we didn't test at all throughout the entire game. And it left the fan base very, very low after Saturday, to the point where a lot of people had given up and said, look, the league's gone. There's no point even looking at the league now. Let's focus on the Europa League. So after that really disappointing kind of game, where was your head at?
I was in the mud Saturday evening. I waited all week to watch it. I thought we was going to really give them a game. I thought it was a game we could win. I thought it was a game we could have won easy. They were there for the taking, but as you say, the two centre halves, I've never never heard of them, and we didn't even test them. It's not for me. It wasn't. For me, it wasn't the result so much. It was the way the result came. Arsenal were terrible, Tom. It's probably one of the worst performances I've ever seen, and has to be the worst performance I've ever seen since Baku in the Europa League final. It was so bad. We couldn't pass to each other. We couldn't get on the ball. I think we only had one shot on target in the whole game. Alisson could have set up a cake stall and sold cakes to people who were in the ground, no problem whatsoever, because no one was coming near his goal. It was just a horrible, horrible performance. And I'm starting to worry now whether the players are starting to throw Arteta under the bus like they threw Emery under the bus, because it's all very well changing your manager, because you can't. Sorry, what I'm going to say is it worries me, because you can't change 25 players. So that means that the manager's got to go. So if the manager goes, the next one that comes in is still stuck with this squad of players. So I don't know where I am with my thoughts at the moment. I've backed Mikel Arteta all year, as people know. But even I'm now starting to have my doubts because of the way that they are performing. It's just not Arsenal. It's rubbish. Yeah. It's absolute rubbish. People in the chat, Mitchell says they thought Liverpool were class. I can't agree with you, Mitchell, I'm afraid. Liverpool weren't. I don't think they were that good. I think
said that we put it on a platter for them.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You know, we every time we got the ball, we couldn't get it forward. No, there was no player there to get the ball, pick it up, drive forward. No one could drive through the press. It was just awful, awful watching. And like I say, Liverpool weren't that great for me. Like you said, mate, you hit it on the head there. We gave it to them on a plate.
I get really frustrated, of course, like in the sense that I think it's amazing how kind of highs and lows we go through as Arsenal fans from game to game. And it's maybe not until the end of the season where we can really collect our thoughts and look at and evaluate what's happened. And there's still a lot of football left. I mean, how we feel after that Liverpool loss, if Arsenal were to go on and win the Europa League, it would be the euphoria surrounding getting back into the Champions League after what's happened this season. Like, would be unimaginable in terms of kind of the social impact on the fan base. The thing about Arteta is it always comes down is in terms of how do we save the season, is there's some big decisions that have now got to be made in the short term, because Kieran Tierney, the injury to Kieran Tierney is massive. He's so important to what we do down our left-hand side. And I put a tweet out this morning, a little bit in jest and kind of just like still wiping the sleep out of my eyes, I suppose, with a bit of a tweet. And I put a tweet out saying, should we go back to playing the 3-4-3 system for the rest of the season? Because without a natural left-back, the only kind of other player that I can think to go as a natural-sided left-back would be Bukayo Saka, who, of course, has played there in the past. You've also got the situation where we're not really creating loads, even with the back four at the moment. And with either one of Emil Smith-Rowe and Erdegaard out as well. And maybe having three centre-backs would stop us from conceding goals. And Arseblog, God bless him, replied saying, just no. That was it. No.
Yeah.
And a lot of people agree with him. And it was interesting because a lot of people disagreed as well in the sense and got on the idea of it, because it was just purely out there as kind of a discussion point. Should Arsenal consider doing that? So do you think that that's kind of a route that Arsenal could use, is to be a little bit more solid?
Well, he's going to have to. He's got a big decision to make, isn't he? And if that's, I'm with you. If I don't want to see Saka playing left back. Saka is a player that we want up the pitch, not defending. So yeah, I mean, it's a possibility that he goes back to the 3-4-3. But again, it's down to Mikel Arteta. I'm not too sure. Is he using the rest of this season to kind of fathom what it is he wants from players? Is he using the rest of the season to chop and to change it so many times, like we've seen him do, to work out who he wants to keep and who he wants to go, and this, that, and the other? I'm not too sure that he'll get backed in the summer, Tom. I'm very worried about the summer. I don't think he's going to get the backing that we're all expecting. And I'm very, very worried about who. I mean, there's talks there that Lacazette's going to extend his contract. There's talks of him giving David Luiz a contract extension. I mean, like, oh God, like when I hear news like that, it kind of makes me feel a bit worried about if he's handing them new contracts, who the hell's coming in? I don't think many people will be coming in. I think I read a report to say that the Cronkies have agreed to fund one transfer, one big transfer, but you just don't know what you're reading, do you? You don't know whether you can believe it or not. Going back to your original question, 3-4-3. Who knows, mate? I just don't know. In answer to the question, I don't want him to go. I don't want him to play Saka left back. No way. We've got to keep Saka up the pitch. So if it means going 3-4-3 for the rest of the season while Tierney's out, because it looks like he probably will be out for the rest of the season, then so be it, mate.
Yeah. I don't think playing Saka in a left wing-back role necessarily takes away from what he does in the final third, because I think that system allows those wing-backs
That's true too.
Pitch. You look at what Tuchel's doing with Chelsea really successfully, other than against West Brom, but
the
ability of the red card obviously led to that result. But you Callum Hudson-Odoi on that side and Alonso doing what he's doing on the left-hand side, Chilwell when he plays too. I think it's an option. I don't think it's necessarily something that I want to say that this is the way we need to move forward. But I think it's, for me, I look at the 3-4-3 as a bit of a needs-must kind of situation. I mean, at the end of the day, at the end of last season, Arteta switched to the 3-4-3 because we were conceding for fun and we went on to win the trophy that we were involved
very
in.
true. Yeah.
So that's something.
It's a formation they know how to play. It's a formation that they know what he wants. That what he wants from it. So perhaps it could be. Perhaps it could be a good decision to do that, because he's not really with the formation that he's playing at the moment. He's not getting anything out of it, is he? So change it up a bit, I suppose, and see what happens. But at the moment, I'm just so downhearted with it all. I'm just so downhearted with it all. We are where we are for a reason, because we haven't been good enough, and it's as simple as that. And Mikel Arteta has to take some blame for that. I understand that. But the bigger blame comes with the players for me. I'm sorry. They have thrown him under a bus numerous amounts of times. You could see, even Lacazette admitted it after the West Ham game. In the first half, we didn't listen to the manager. What a thing to say. I couldn't believe it when he said that. Oh, we didn't listen to the manager. In the second half, we did.
Yeah, that was
what the fuck. And then wherever there's a Tottenham result, wherever there's a Leicester result, there's a Burnley result, or there's there's another poor result that comes with it. Consistency is key. Consistency is key with Arteta. There is no consistency at the moment.
Do you think that Lacazette comment falls on him, as in Lacazette, because obviously he's a player that was here way before Arteta was assigned? Can you imagine kind of one of the more recent players, like, I know Tierney was signed under Emery or Martinelli, but can you imagine him or Gabriel or Partey? Can you imagine those guys saying that? Because there's part of me that wants to, obviously with people how know how I feel about Arteta and that, but there's part of me that wants to go, I don't know if that's the mental issues that we've had ingrained in that previous kind of regime of players, and or is it actually on Arteta that to say that we didn't follow his instructions, or is that on the manager? Because you would say that, well, he should be setting out to go out and do what he expects, but if they go out and don't do what he's asked them to do, is that?
Well, you could look at it too. Yeah, you could look at it both ways, couldn't you? You could look at it like that he hasn't G'd them up enough, and that they haven't gone out there and executed the plan. But no, I don't. I think it meant what he meant. I think they went out there and played their own game, and didn't it show? 3-0 down in 20 minutes, and they came out second half under instruction and were unlucky, I think, not to win the game. We should have won the game in the end of it. But I just think there's so much negativity around the club at the moment. With the manager and stuff like that, I really do think it keeps deflecting off how bad the players have been. They haven't been performing. Aubameyang's been awful. Lacazette's been awful. The research, Saka and Smith Rowe have been superb, and that sets alarm bells off for me. That two 19-year-old kids have had to come in and show and set the way to players like Aubameyang and stuff like that. The captaincy's got to change. It's a big one for me next season. The captaincy has got to change. It's got to come off the arm of Aubameyang. For me, he's no captain. I said it straight away when he was giving it to him, and everyone laughed at me. No, He's not good enough to be captain. He's not a leader.
You put a lot of stock in that then, because some people would say that the captain's armband's a little kind of aesthetic rather than actually being something like you have leaders in the team without needing an armband, but you would disagree and say that that's.
Oh, I disagree. Well, I'm a traditionalist with the armband, right?
Yeah,
a captain should be a man who will grab a game by the scruff of the neck, who will rally the team together. After when's the last time you saw anyone G'ing up the team after they conceded a goal? I've never seen.
Usually,
yeah, but I've seen other teams do. I've seen other captains do it. Yeah. Call the team in. All right, we've gone 1-0 down. Calm down, carry on playing as we play. No one does that at Arsenal. No one. They just heads down, walk back to the centre circle, and off they go again. No one talks to each other. No one wants to explain what happened. All it is arms go up in the air and they walk back to the centre circle. No one takes the blame. No one takes the heat, as to say. But to me, I'm a traditionalist. I like to have a captain on the pitch who will lead and lead by example. A lot of people are calling for Kieran Tierney to be captain.
Yeah.
A lot of people have even suggested Granit Xhaka should be given back the armband. That's for another podcast. But the captaincy definitely needs to change. We haven't had a leader at Arsenal. You could say we haven't had a leader since Vieira. I think Gilberto Silva was a good captain. Maybe Robin van Persie was a good captain as well, because there was many times when he took the game by the scruff of the neck and he got us back into games.
Captain.
Exactly. And that's what you want on the pitch. You don't want a fella who's... Nah, he doesn't. I mean, against West Ham, the quickest I saw him move was when he
celebrated
with Lacazette. Yeah, and it's ridiculous. The Arsenal captaincy has been something of a joke at Arsenal for far too long, and it's about time someone made it their job to make sure that we have got a leader on the pitch all the time. Whether it be Kieran Tierney, whether it be Granit Xhaka, whether it be David Luiz, whether it be I don't care who it is. Just make sure it's a man that can lead, and take a game by the scruff of the neck.
Do you think that if we follow those footsteps, take the captaincy off Aubameyang, there's two kind of questions that spurn from this? Is that one, do you think Aubameyang can handle that ego hit, that a bit public kind of embarrassment in a way, having that taken off of him? And secondly, is Aubameyang himself, we've invested in this guy, we've given him a new deal, he's got at least 2 more seasons left on a big contract. What do we do with him at this point?
I don't care if he sulks. If he sulks, he sulks. Man earns 300 grand a week. What you got to sulk about? Whether you're captain or not. He obviously doesn't really care. That's harsh because I haven't asked him, and I don't. He can't. He's not here to defend himself. But to me, he don't care. He don't care. I mean, he's been late. He turned up late to a North London derby. It's not the first time he's turned up late. Apparently, it's funny to me how he was absolutely superb before the contract offer came in, and now he's not firing. I think this is, if we're not careful, this is going to turn into an Ozil number 2 situation. I can see it turning into an Ozil situation altogether already. So it's about time somebody put the foot down and got rid of players like this, because if you're
That's not the reason why I like Arteta, because I feel like he does that. Guendouzi, and you think about what happened with Ozil, Kolasinac, Mustafi. Like, I feel like he does that, so that gives me hope, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
I mean, perhaps he's only keeping these in the team because it's all he's all he's got at the moment. To be honest, so perhaps that's another reason.
But to say I don't Martinelli, which is an issue for some people, a lot of people.
Yeah, it is a lot of it, and even now I'm starting to see that as well. I mean, like, why when you're 0-0 at Liverpool, why are you bringing on Mohamed Elneny? Like, what?
What I will say to that, just while you're on that, is that I think that he realised he made a mistake in picking Ceballos over El Neni at the start of the game. I thought he should have started with El Neni because El Neni's similar to Granit Xhaka, way more similar to him than Ceballos is. So he'd give you that kind of, although he's much more passive and he doesn't necessarily give you much progression, he would have given us a little bit more control with his passing that we didn't necessarily have with Ceballos. So I think that he brought El Neni on later, realising that he'd made a mistake. But ultimately, that means he's admitted that he's made the error. But he brought on Martinelli way too late in the game.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But it's not just the Liverpool game, though, is it? It's been plenty of games where we've needed a bit of spark up front. West Ham, for example.
Yeah.
And he's, who did he bring on for Aubameyang that day? I can't remember now, but it wasn't a player like for like switch.
Is it?
His substitutions
he
are
Smith Rowe for Xhaka, and then he brought on, was it Willian for Aubameyang? I think it might have been
Was it? I mean, that's hardly inspiring, is it?
Even me, as like the biggest Arteta kind of backer, is that I can't defend the consistent mistakes that he makes with selection because you and me saw against West Ham, and you said there the most running that Aubameyang did against West Ham was when he celebrated. He was awful on the left side. He was awful playing with the Lacazette, and I don't think those two play well together. No. And there was a brilliant interview that was re-highlighted by LT Arsenal that Freddie Ljungberg did in 2019, where he talked about the lack of balance that you have when you play Lacazette and Aubameyang together. And yet, our last game was against West Ham, and he persisted against Liverpool to play Aubameyang and Lacazette together when he had not just Martinelli. And I know Willian's been poor, but he is a more natural winger than Aubameyang. And so he had those choices, and yet he continued with that. And I took a real issue with that.
Well, I would too, because he's turning into a bit of an Arsene Wenger already. And when I compare him to Arsene Wenger, I compare him to Arsene Wenger with his stubbornness to carry on with players that he is showing 100% loyalty to, and he's getting nothing back from them. Nothing back from them. If I was Aubameyang and I got left out of the North London derby, you can bet your ass that I would have been breaking my balls to make sure that I repaid my teammates and that I repaid my manager, for breaking the rules, code of conduct, whatever you want to call it. He plays against Olympiacos. He's awful again. Then West Ham, awful.
Yeah.
And then he was awful again at the weekend. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is a player that we need. He's supposed to be our talisman. And you don't even know he's playing sometimes. It's got that bad. It's got that bad. What's that? Do
you think he's just goals? Is that all he gives you? And therefore,
that's all he gives. I'm sorry, but it's all he gives. It's all he gives me. He's an out-and-out goal scorer. He's a striker. We've seen it. He's scored tremendous goals for us. He scored tremendous goals for Borussia Dortmund. He scored tremendous goals for his country. Why can't he do it now? What's going on? Why is he gone off the boil now? I just don't.
Do you think it's an Ozil similar situation? Do you think the contract has had an impact on?
I do, and people might laugh at me, but I do. When you pay someone 300 grand a week, what care do they need to give? He signed a 3-year contract, £300,000 a week. What cares does he have to give now? He's got the captaincy and he gets paid 300 grand a week. I mean, think about it. If you were playing for Arsenal and getting paid 300 grand a week and you were the captain, no one there else to take the position away from you. Have you got to give 100% every week? No,
and when you play like you did against West Ham and still get selected,
and then when you turn up late and still get named as a substitute, that was a mistake because it stunk of.
Okay, Arteta, you want to make the point, you want to make a stand by saying, look, you've turned up late, that's not acceptable. But knowing it's a North London derby and Aubameyang can be great, it was a bit of a cop-out to throw him on the bench as well. If you're gonna knock him out of the starting lineup, knock him out of the squads. Because
I mean, I remember when it happened, I was stressing. I was shouting at the TV, what's he done that's so bad?
Yeah.
The manager's left him out for a North London derby, and I couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
but then when you hear that he's broken that rule
multiple times,
then I support Mikel Arteta on that, and I look at that as good management. I do. I look at that as good management. It hasn't worked by the looks of things by sending Aubameyang a message, but it might it certainly, obviously, sent a message out to the rest of them. Well, that's good because if the rest of them have got the message, that's good. If one fella decides that he's exactly, if one fella's not going to get the message, then the one fella can be easily dealt with.
Yeah.
So like Mercer Ozil in his situation, we don't know what happened with Mercer Ozil. Some would say it was a political thing. Some say it's a football thing. Some say it's a personality thing. Who knows? We're never going to know until he writes the book. And we all buy it just to read that chapter. And then he trolls us all like Arsene Wenger did and says nothing about what we want to know. But it's a tricky situation with Aubameyang, Tom, and I will put my neck on the line now and say that if a good offer came in for him, I'd sell him.
So would I. You're not alone. I don't think you're alone by a long shot. I think there's a lot of people that. And what's a good offer for you? Like what amount of money?
I'd take 40 million for him.
Would you take 30?
I'd 40. 40 million. You can have him.
I think I'd take 30 because the amount of money that we're paying him, what we've got. I
he's 32.
I would take 30 and extend Laka for an extra year, just 1 year. Just give Lacazette a year extension. You can bring in a striker if you want to as well, but then you've got Lacazette there for an extra year. But move him on because then I think you can also put more emphasis on maybe Martinelli being a more central player, give him more opportunity.
Which I think, do you know what? Which I think is what he's doing behind the scenes.
Yeah, maybe.
I've been watching those training videos of Martinelli doing the drills, the one-on-one drills and stuff like that. I think that's what's happening behind the scenes. Can you bring that comment in there from Fubar Gunner?
Yes, let me scroll up to it. Read it for me. Oh, there we go.
It says our fan syndrome. Look at wages, and it's bonkers. It's the club paying them. Well, it's not. It's us. We pay the wages. We pay the tickets. We pay Sky Sports. We buy the merchandise. This, that, and the other. Now, another thing as well is if you're a player playing for this club and you're getting paid 300 grand a week, the least you should be doing is giving 110% on that pitch every week. Every week you play for this club and you put this badge on your chest and you're getting paid that amount of money, you should give 110% for this club. You should walk off that pitch with nothing else to give. So when people say, "Oh, it's the club playing them," it's the club playing them. It's not. We're all paying them. It doesn't matter if you're a season ticket holder, you buy a shirt, you buy a Sky Sports subscription. You are giving money to Arsenal, and that money is being paid to the players. Everyone puts in to this football club, and the players obviously me buying Sky Sports is only a minute, but add it all up, we do pay the players, and that's where the revenue comes from. So in answer to that, you might feel like that, but I feel completely different. And the point of the matter is, if you're getting paid 300 grand a week, like I said, you go out onto that pitch with that shirt on and you give it everything you've got until the final whistle.
I can't. I look at what I see in the kind of the perception around like how we can criticize players, the amount of money that they earn. And I've always been a big advocate of saying that footballers deserve to earn that amount of money based on commercially they deserve it, in the sense it's not morally right, but it's commercially right, because ultimately you've got millions of people that want to watch and play football, and that's just the way the world works, unfortunately. But I get in the sense that you're talking about there and going, we invest in this team, and even if you say you don't spend anything, say if you're a person that refuses to spend any money on the club, fair play to you, by the way. I can't be you. I need to associate myself with sometimes bringing in merchandise or having a shirt or whatever. But you invest your time into watching Arsenal, into talking about Arsenal, into thinking about Arsenal, nearly 24/7, which I mean, me and Craig certainly do, maybe too much.
Well, jokes aside, people say this to me, how do you watch football all the time? How do you watch football all the time? I liken it to and compare it to a religion.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a religious man. And I have no problem with people who are religious, but Arsenal is my religion.
Yeah.
I sleep, I eat, I drink Arsenal Football Club. I lie in bed here sometimes, 2-3 o'clock. When Arsenal got beaten by Liverpool on Saturday, I was here 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, awake, thinking about it. What's happening? What's going on? Do you know? And then people have the cheek to call me not a real fan because I don't go to games. But yet here I am asleep, not losing sleep because Arsenal have lost. So don't, that I've seen a lot of that on Twitter over the last few weeks.
Not a real fan talk.
Not a real fan because you don't go to the football, or not a real fan because you don't buy tickets. Tell that to someone who lives in America, who gets up at 4:00 in the morning to watch us draw with Burnley. Yeah. Tell that to them and see what answer you get about not being a real fan. Unbelievable.
We ran Miami John, 305 Cast on Twitter, on the website last year, ran a series where he spoke to foreign fans and got their stories about why they, and the amount of times the lines that come up saying that how they describe the first time they actually got to come over. And then there are some fans that haven't been able to come over and they talk about how much it means to them to be able to do it. And to come over. It really frustrates me when people say, like, do you go to games and stuff like that? Have you ever been to a game? Are you watching the games? And then they use that in the sense that, like, going to a game. Like, I go to games, like, not regularly, but I go to a few games during the season when I can, because it's Arsenal and we put our money to it and it's expensive. Arsenal is expensive. It's really, for your average Joe, like, it is a pricey weekend activity, because you've got to think about not only your match ticket, you're thinking about your travel, you're thinking about your food and travel in the UK, by the way, if you're not, it's ridiculously expensive. So it's a big commitment, and that's what frustrates me. And even though I've spent a significant amount going to a game, someone that's got up anywhere else in the world or in the UK to watch the game is no more or less of a fan than me, just because I've been there. It's really frustrating. I get you. We've reached the halfway point. So before we go on to the next topic, very quickly, if you would like a chance of winning I know a lot of people are like this, a signed Gabriel Martinelli shirt from this season, there is the opportunity to do so. Links in the description to Football Prizes website. You can buy a ticket. There's 99 available, so you've got a 1 in 99 chance. You can buy more than one ticket to increase your chance if you want. But we've had some really good winners and good prizes. We've had signed Thomas Partey shirts.
What a great prize.
But it's a really, really nice one because it's this season's shirt. So if you want to go a ticket, go and get one. It'll be released on Friday at 8:30 on their Facebook page, and we'll be giving one of our members a free entry into the competition as well. So make sure you tune in on Friday's show to find out who that is. We're going to hopefully pretend, Craig, we have a very good member called Kian who comes on the show, and he's won the last 2 free entries in a row. And there's a lot of people that enter each week, and he's managed to win back to back. So we're hoping.
Lucky. Have a bit of rub off. Can you give me the lottery numbers?
Yeah. But hopefully someone else can get a go. But Kian, we wish you the best of luck still for this week's draw.
Got to be in it to win it.
Exactly. Chris goes, one of our members in brackets, aka Kian. So there you go. You know how it works. I want to talk a little bit about beyond this season and what the kind of the Arsenal needs in the summer. You talked about an article that you read. I've brought up an article written by in Football London where Arteta addressed kind of the idea about the funds being made available for new signs, and he says the team is going to reflect a better performance, results, and at the end of the season we'll see where we are and have a discussion. We know that certain scenarios can vary and we cannot control them. I'm guessing he's alluding to what European competition we're in and where we finish. They're going to be dependent on things today we can't determine, but the plan is to go ahead with what we want, and I know they fully agree, they being the ownership, with that, and they've been fully supportive of us. Now, we've heard things like this in the past. We've heard the ownership back us. The ownership, Wenger said it, that he's got the backing of the owners. Unai Emery said it, that he's got the backing of the owners. And we've not necessarily got the things that we've expected, or that the coaches have expected. I mean, Emery wanted Zaha, he didn't get Zaha. He wanted Steven Nzonzi, he didn't get Steven Nzonzi, stuff like that. Arteta, I feel last season wanted, obviously, Houssem Aouar. Edu wanted Thomas Partey. I think they both wanted both players, to be honest. And if we'd have got both players, I would have been much more confident going into next season, thinking, okay, this board really does back the club, because they would have gone at last season and got the 2 key targets that both of those guys wanted. So how are you feeling about the end of the season? Because the season's so depressing right now that it's quite nice to talk about the end of the season. Yeah, well, so, I mean, how do you feel about it?
I'm looking for, like, I've been talking about next season for the last 6 weeks, Tom. To be honest with you,
I'm sick of this one.
You know, on our podcast, we're talking about where do we go next season already. which is madness. We've never spoken about that before. That so early on. But it is over to the Cronkies, Tom. It really is. If they want to own a successful football club, it's over to them. And with this news of the financial fair play thing changing or being cancelled, or I don't know how. I'm not really into, people who watch me know I'm not really into reading reports about money and stuff like that. But if it's going to change, then he has no excuse but to put his money. To put his hand in his pocket and give Arteta some money. I think Arteta needs probably a new right back. He's going to need cover for Kieran Tierney. I think we're okay in the middle with Saliba and Gabriel, Rob Holding, because he's just signed a new contract, hasn't he? And of course Mavropanos as well, who's doing really well out in wherever he is. I'm reading
Stuttgart.
He's going to need some cover for Smith Rowe. He's going to need cover for Saka. If he lets Lacazette go, he's going to need someone in there. But then looking at that, has he already identified his targets? He did say a few weeks ago that there's 6 players that they're looking at already. So can we believe what he says? I would be cautious. Because, like you rightly said, we've heard all this before. We've heard all this, that this fella's coming and that fella's coming. Is that fella there in the chat box says, Craig, how much do you want Kroenke to give Arteta? It's got to be. We're going to need 250 million, I think. 200 to 250 million. Is he going to give us 200 to 250 million? Of course he's not. So that's why I worry. I mean, I can't see how with today's transfer market and the prices that we're seeing. Yeah, that's got to be a ballpark figure, isn't it? 200 million. I mean, there's a fella there saying 150 million minimum. Yeah, between 150 to 200 million. But what we've got to do is with that money, Tom, we've got to stop going for these. We've got to stop going for these players that are household, like these 50, 60, 70, 80 million pound players. I don't want them kind of players. I want exactly. Look at Gabriel, look at Robinson at Liverpool, Van Dijk.
Tierney cost us 25 mil.
Tierney, I mean, I've just said Van Dijk there. I know he went for 75 million, but we missed out on him for 12.5 million.
Yeah.
Do you know these exactly? Do you know these players? Yeah. I don't want these household players. I want players to come in and play for this and be a round peg for a round hole and listen to the manager and give 110%. I'm sick of having players at Arsenal coming here for a retirement home. David Luiz, Mercer Ozil. I can't remember how many more players there is that have come in for a time. Aubameyang, if you want. 32 years of old, 300 grand a week. Come on. Do you know? I'm just sick of it. I want our scouts to go out there and find me.
Yeah, got any, mate? Remember, redundant, mate. You know?
Oh, yeah. I want someone to go out and get us the round pegs for the round holes and stop bringing me. Look, it's not Nicolas Pepe's fault. I get that. Stop bringing me 72 million pound Pepe. I'm not interested. I'm not interested. 100%. We should have had a 72. We could have had Van Dijk for that money. Yeah.
We spent 72 million pounds on a luxury player instead of the spine. I would just, and that's the thing is that when I don't want to bring up Emery again, but that is one of the grudges I suppose I hold is that we had the opportunity to spend that amount of money on a player. Why spend it on a luxury winger? Like that really annoyed me. I mean, I'm so glad you brought that up because I mean I'll put the link to it in the chat box. So I literally wrote exactly what you said there today about how Arsenal need to go out and they need to sign players that you look at the position that you're signing them in. Is it an upgrade on the player that we've already got there?
Exactly.
If not, you don't sign them.
Exactly.
And the amount of players I listed, I mean, I'm gonna have to remind myself.
And as a fan base, right? I'm sorry if I'm shouting. I'm getting a bit het up now because I'm. When I'm doing my podcast, I'm the host, and the boys do the talking. I don't always get to say what I want. I want the fans to stop being snobbish as well. If he comes, if the new player comes from the Championship and he's an upgrade, don't snob it. I hate this thing. Oh, we can't sign him. He plays in the Championship. That's not.
Say that. Johnny Evans.
You know, that's not an upgrade. You know, Liverpool took Robinson from relegated Hull City. Do you know?
West Ham.
There's players there that can come in, and as you rightly say, Tom, if it's an upgrade, put him in. If it's not an upgrade, don't buy it. Don't buy him. You know, get out there, get some bloody scouts out there, and get us some decent players who will play football for the club instead of coming here for a big wage. Does my head in.
Between 2015 and 2019, Arsenal spent £561 million on transfers. And in that time, we signed Skodran Mustafi, Socrates, Lucas Torreira, Matteo Guendouzi, Pepe, Lacazette, Cedric, Ronison, David Luiz, Stefan Lichtsteiner on wages. It was a free transfer, but signing off fees. Sead Kolasinac, Lucas Perez, and Mohamed El Neni. And none of those players improved on a position. Lucas Torreira, you may think is a bit harsh, but ultimately, when you look back now, you'd say he's not. But all of those players, we spent a ridiculous amount of money on bringing all of those, and none of them were upgrades. And that's why, that's Craig, is that that's why I am still willing to wait a year, because this is the first coach that in that summer signed Gabriel, signed Thomas Partey, signed on loan. Still,
I get that, mate. Yeah,
and Martin Odegaard, That's why I'm willing to give it a year, just to see what this summer is. If we sign, and that's the thing, is that this summer will allow me, I feel, to be able to fully evaluate the situation. If he brings in players that improve us, and we're still 10th, and we're still 8th, 9th, 10th, then 100%.
Then we'll talk. Yep,
I'm done. Move on. The process.
He's under pressure from day one. If he gets backed in the summer, I've said this. Look, I've said this before to you, mate. When he was first given the job, I was underwhelmed. I wish I could bloody find the tweet. I said, okay, Mikel Arteta's not my... It wouldn't have been my first choice, but I'm a bit underwhelmed with that. But look, he's an Arsenal... You know, he was our captain, and he's been up there with Pep Guardiola for the last 2 years. Look, he deserves a chance. Let's give him a go, see how we go. But if he gets backed in the summer and he does bring in 6, 7 players, let's say he does. And like you just said, mate, if we're still languishing around 8th, 9th and 10th in October, November, then, he'll have to go. Absolutely. I'll hold my hand up. He'll have to go.
I mean, I always use Leicester City every single time as an example of a club that you should look at and go, they're the club to model recruitment on, because you look at the players that they bring in after losing players. I mean, last summer they lost Ben Chilwell, and they brought in Wesley Fofana, Timothy Castagna, and they got an Under on loan. I mean, Castagna came in and is basically a right back and a left back. He's that good.
That lad who plays centre half as well, the Turkish lad, is it Sionchu?
Yes, Sionchu came in 2018. He came in. They basically gave him a season. They basically did a Saliba with him. They gave him a season. Basically, you'll get a couple of games here and there, and then the next season in 2019, he started all the games and has smashed it since.
He's smashed it to pieces. He's a brilliant player.
James Maddison, Ricardo Pereira, Jose Perez, which I know a lot of people. So Jose Perez, right? If we had signed Jose Perez, can you imagine the uproar if we'd have signed him in? And actually, he's gone to Leicester and he's done well. I mean,
but that's what I mean about being a snob, mate. Because he's not a household name. If he'd have come to Arsenal, everyone going, "Oh, bloody, who's this bloke?"
Yeah,
do you know? But no one wants to say to this, "Oh, he looks all right. Didn't even give him a go." Let's make an assumption about him after he's played a few games of football, instead of when he's standing there with the show. "Oh, I don't like the look of him. Oh no, I don't like the look of him." It's ridiculous. I mean, I can remember when we signed Thierry Henry. People saying, "Oh, who's this geezer? Oh, he's another French bloke." Bloody hell! Do you know? Yeah. It's just this fan base, and I think being as good as we were and all that success we had, I think it's been a bad thing on that generation of supporters. I really do. And people think I'm crazy. I think that one of the worst things that could have happened to this football club was winning the league unbeaten, because everyone's expectation is up there all the time. All the time. Now, people can say to me, your expectation should be up there all the time. Well, of course it is. But I also understand that's not the way it works.
Yeah.
There's the ways and means of getting up there and staying up there.
And I think people are very introverted the way they look at Arsenal. They look at just Arsenal and they forget I say 19, but it's a hell of a lot more clubs than it used to be even a year, 2 years ago that are fighting for that top four that have invested. I mean, you look at the amount of money Aston Villa have invested in their squad and invested well. Let's not be... West Ham have invested well. Leicester have invested exceptionally well. And then you've got the other clubs that we're used to, like Chelsea, United and City, that can continue to just pump money into their transfer business. We hate talking about Spurs positively, but I mean, they've made some good signings, and Ndombele's been a great signing. Højbjerg they got for 15 odd million. That's what I'm saying. If we'd have signed Pierre-Emile Højbjerg from Southampton to partner Granit or to be Granit Xhaka's replacement, whatever, can you imagine the uproar of that?
No.
People will turn around now and be like, no, I wouldn't. But it's very easy to say that a benefit of hindsight. I guarantee you, if we'd have signed Højbjerg, it would have been meltdown. Absolute meltdown.
Yeah, I agree. Like I'm one of these. I'm a fan that will give anyone a chance. You'll see my Twitters when we sign players. I welcome them. I send them a little tweet all the time. Remember the name on the back of the play for the badge on the front of the shirt, the old Tony Adams thing, and we'll remember the name on the back. 60% of them don't listen to me though, but that's what I want to see in a player. I want to see a player give his all for the club, and if you're not willing to give your all for the club, I don't care if you're getting paid £1,000. I don't care if you're getting paid £1 million. Out you go. If you're not, if your heart is not with this club, then go. Because like Lucas Torreira, at least Lucas Torreira comes out and admits it, right? That he's struggling, and he doesn't like London. This, that, and the other, and he wants to move. Right, that's fine. I know. It's a completely different situation to a big name player, right? But we're going to let him go, and just let him go. I've been talking about 1.5 million. Just let the geezer go for free, for Christ's sake. Just let him go. Doesn't want to be here. Doesn't want to play for us. Just go. Do you know? Okay, Lucas. See you later. Thanks very much.
That's I've heard today that apparently it's going to be a loan. That's what I've heard.
Oh, have you?
I've heard it's going to be a
loan.
Why?
Why loan him out? He's not in anyone's plans.
Because the issue is with the Torreira situation is that he wants to go to Boca Juniors, right? And Boca Juniors don't have... I'm going to be doing a show on this tomorrow in a lot of detail.
Just give him...
I agree with you.
Give him.
But Arsenal want to protect the value, and basically the argument is going to be that if they can get him in before the Copa America, is that he goes there for a year and then his value increases because he plays more, and Arsenal will be able to get a better season.
Well, that's Arsenal all over, isn't it?
Boca Juniors don't have the capacity to sign him, and the wages they don't, and Arsenal are going to end up paying quite a lot of his wages as well, from the sounds of it. So it's a real. And Jonathan Porter does raise a good point in saying, how can you just write off 20 million quid that 25 is what we invested in it?
Well, we've written off. We've how much did we write off when we let Ozil go?
Yeah, how many? Yeah.
18 million was it? For his last wage?
So I think we saved something around between 10 and 15 million quid for his wages between those.
But we still wrote off 18.
But we wrote off a lot of money. We wrote off money for Mustafi. We wrote off money for Kalasanac's loan, which we paid a bit of their wages as well, supposedly. Do
you know what? He's got a good point, because it's a good point. How can I write off just £20 million, or at least get £10 million for him? Because it all goes into the pot for new players, doesn't it? So, do you know what? He's right. I shouldn't just give away £20 million, but I'm just off saying that. Look, just get rid of him. If he doesn't want to be here, just get rid of him. He's not happy here. He's not in Arteta's plans. He doesn't want to be here. Let's move him out.
The issue with that, though, is that if you set a precedent of that's what you're able, is that you'll never get a transfer fee in the future for a player.
Well, true. That's true. But you've got to handle it a bit. You don't come out into the press and go, "Yeah, Lucas wanted to go, so I just let him go."
Goes, I want to go.
I mean, we've been lied to before, haven't we? About just put him out there as an undisclosed fee. There you go, done and dusted.
Yeah, it's amazing how the us media get hold of that, get hold of these figures. They come out somehow. it's obviously we've now got Slavia on Thursday, and kind of the last topic I want to talk about the last 10 minutes. We've got a situation where we don't really know the situation of Saka. We don't know the situation with Emil Smith Rowe. Tierney is out. That's pretty much confirmed. Granit Xhaka, you would assume is going to be back because he was only ill over the weekend. We've got to work out what we're going to do. And I want to kind of know how you would approach that game. We're at home. And for me, the biggest thing about this game is not conceding an away goal. That is
absolutely
the priority. And we've got to win, of course. But for me, their away record in the Europa League is insanely good. They've drawn their games at home against Leicester and against Rangers, and they came to the King Power. They went to Ibrox and they won. And so it is important as hell to keep that clean sheet and to avoid that. So how are you approaching that game?
Well, if I'm Mikel Arteta, I'm put. It's the strong. He has to put out his strongest team. There's no doubts about that. This could be a defining moment for him because, like you said, they are so good away from home. If they score an away goal, and God willing they don't, or even get 2 away goals, with no reply, or we're out. Simple. We're not going to go out there and beat them by 3. We've watched them. We've watched, like you said, we've watched them against Leicester. We've watched them against Rangers. Knocked them out. British teams, especially Leicester. I thought that was a bloody good performance, knocking them out. But I don't get this thing about when people say, "Oh, I don't get this thing about if he gets knocked out the Europa League, he should be sacked straight away." I don't get that. I don't get because
no, I don't either.
If we get into the Champions League, right? Can you imagine us in the Champions League with the team that we've got? Right, because what'll happen is if he wins the Europa League and we get into the Champions League, the board will go, "Oh well done. You don't need any money now." You've obviously got good enough players there now because you're in the Champions League. Have a year in the Champions League and come back to us. That's the only thing that worries me. But of course, I want to win the Europa League. Of course, it's a trophy. I'm a football supporter. I want my team to. I want the glory. I want to be able to, go out downtown in my shirt after we've won the Europa League, But the way I approach it is they've got to be professional, Tom. They've got to be professional. They've got to leave. They've got to be up for it. They've got to leave this. They've got to leave this egotistical thing in the dressing room that's happening on the pitch at the moment. They've just got to go out there as a team, mate, and they've got to fight for each other. And I would, if I was Mikel Arteta, I'd be telling them they're playing for their futures, And I think a few of them do think and understand that they're playing for their futures. It's a tough one, mate. It really is a tough one. I'm having people telling me that we've got the easiest route to the final.
Well, it's easier than United and Roma and Ajax. But it's not easy. I think people, I know what you mean.
You know what I'm trying to say. No football match is easy. No. I'd rather play a team that we know something about. Do we really know much about who we're playing? Well, obviously the management do, but you can see what I'm trying to say. I'd rather play. Someone said to me the other day, "Would you rather play Milan or
United?"
No, Milan or United. And I said I'd rather play United. We know everything about Man United. Okay. We know everything about Man United.
Got 4 points from 6 against them this season.
Exactly. So I don't want. I hate that. We've only got to turn up to win mentality. I hate that because it's bitten us in the arse so many bloody times already. To go out there or to go out there on Thursday night and go out there with that attitude is all wrong. And like I said, as a fella there said, when have we ever been professional? It's very true this year. And is that Sabusio? I hope I've said that right. Sabusio, yeah. Arsenal's biggest opponents are Arsenal, and how right is that?
So true. Bellerin was spot on when he said we lose against ourselves. Yeah,
it's so true. So yeah, mate, it's all on the manager. He's got to show some big balls on Thursday and make sure he picks the right team and make sure he uses this week to get it into him. That this is a massive game for the club, and And I'd like him to tell them that it's a massive game for their futures as well, you know?
Yeah. We've got tomorrow at 2 p.m. UK time, we've got Martin Veit coming on the show, who is a Czech journalist for Deník Sport. So we're going to give you guys a lot of insight on Slavia Prague. So we might actually know a few things about them. What I do know currently is that they're in a bit of a defensive crisis. They've got one fully fit natural centre back, which is interesting. And Kudela, of course, we know, we talked about that earlier on. They've got a very, very good forward in Sima up front. He 19-year-old, he is exciting. He's an unbelievably good talent, and we've got to watch out for him. So that's someone that we're going to need to really be looking out for. But if you want to find out a lot more about Slavia Prague, then make sure you tune in tomorrow at 2 p.m. But Craig, today it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yes,
always is. I like it because you get to rant, which you don't get to do.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Look, I'm not the most knowledgeable man of football. I understand that. I'm not a Lee Judges. I'm not a you, or I'm not a Dan, or I'm not a Graham. And all the other knowledge, or Harry, I'm not the most with tactics and figures and all this business. I'm just a normal man who sits down in front of the telly and watches the game, and I'll tell you what I think of it. And if you don't like it, unlucky.
Do one. You've got a new show though tonight. Yeah,
well, we've got because. Unfortunately, over the last few weeks, I've lost my job, so I'm out of a job. So I said, do you know what? I'll go full tilt with the YouTube thing for 6 months and see where I end up. If in 6 months' time I'm on Sky Sports News, then great. If not, then I'll have to go looking for a job.
Harry will hook you up, surely.
Harry hooked me up. Yeah, Harry will hook me up. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go for it. So I met these two. I done a podcast a couple of weeks ago with these two lads. They were from Total Screamers, Jake and Simo, they're called. And I've always been looking to do like a Premier League podcast. Well, not even a Premier League podcast, just a podcast talking about football in general and taking things that had happened at the weekend and talking about it. Not sitting there and going, right, West Brom v Chelsea. Why did Chelsea? Why did Chelsea get beaten so bad? Not because they done this and they done this. It's not about that. We'll take little bits and pieces from each game and talk about it. But it's going to be more relaxed. It'll be more of a
banter.
It'll be a banter fest, yeah. Because they support Liverpool, so that should be bloody good, shouldn't it? For the first one, they're both Liverpool fans, so. Yeah, it's going to be more of a banter thing, more of a life thing. It might not, like, we might start off talking about football, but the subject might change and go off on something completely different. It might go on about what I had for my dinner. I don't know what it's going to bring, but I'm very excited because the two boys that I've, like I said, I like to think I've got a little eye for talent when it comes to stuff like this. And
I wouldn't be here.
This is it. This is it. Unfortunately, I need. What's the word I'm looking for? I need the right people when I do something, you know. And I think Jake and these two lads there from Total Screamers, they're good lads. Me and Lee done a podcast with them a couple of weeks ago, and I said, you know what, I think these are the boys. And I rang them up and I spoke to them, and they were massively interested in doing it, of course. And that's what we're going to do. And then on Thursday nights, then I've got another one called Four Men and a Mic, which is more Arsenal and Tory, more Arsenal. I have Chris, Danny from the Bergkamp Wonderland, and James Cook, who some of you might remember from Arsenal Fan TV. Cookie done shows, he done preview shows, didn't he? He's top bloke.
I had one here with Mike and Andy from the Gooners pod, which I felt bad for.
I bet he loved that, did he?
I felt so bad for him.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah, ripping him.
But so I mean, look, why not? Why not go for it? Why not? Just, Dan does his. There's Danny's in the chat. Oi, that's me. 6 o'clock, sharpish. Make sure you're awake on Thursday. Dan does his own show. I gave Dan his own show because I think Dan deserves his own show. Dan's absolutely
great. It's great.
Yeah, Dan's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. And And of course, you can listen to last night's podcast as well. It's up on Spotify. It's up on our YouTube channel. Last night's one, without blowing too much smoke up my own bottom, I think last night's one was one of the best ones we've ever done. It was brilliant. It was brilliant. Everyone came to the table and said their piece. There was no shouting at each other. There was no talking over each other. Everyone came to the table with their thing and brought their facts, and we had it out, and it was brilliant. It was therapeutic, to say the least.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's the main drive for us to do these channels. It's because it's genuinely for us. It's just nice. Sometimes I sit there and I feel bad for my other half because I'm like, I'm going to go do a show because I just need to. You
need to rage
stuff out.
Yeah,
and it's happened.
But this has been absolutely brilliant for me today because, like you said, I've been able to vent off about the Liverpool game and vent off about how I feel. I can't normally do that on the Same Old Arsenal because I'm the one asking the questions and I'm the ones trying to drag out the vent from the boys, So for me to come and vent, it's been I don't always want to vent, but just unfortunately did today.
There you go. That's fine. It's an absolute pleasure, Craig, to have you on as always, and I'm sure we'll be welcoming.
Thank you, mate, and best of luck with everything that you do in the future.
Cheers, mate. I'm not going anywhere. I felt like
I'm just wishing you luck. I'm just wishing you luck.
I appreciate it, mate. We will be back tomorrow, as I said, but do make sure you check out all of Craig's stuff that he's mentioned there. Show tonight, show last night. Every single day is there SOA. That rhymes. That could be a slogan. Every single day there's some SOA. So there you go. Fantastic stuff. Make sure if you've enjoyed today's video, drop it a like and subscribe to the channel. If you're new, we really appreciate that. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can join up as a member as well. There's some exciting stuff coming that has been helped a lot by the members. That's hopefully going to be within the next week or so, which I can't wait to show people. So this should be fun. But we're back tomorrow at 2 p.m. With Martin Vates from Czech Sports TV to talk about Slavia Prague and get a little bit nervous ahead of the game. But we'll see you again very, very soon. It's been a pleasure to speak to you as always, and as always, up the Arsenal.